This is Advisor 3.0, a show designed to help you as a financial advisor elevate your professional practice, transform your clients' lives, and take your business to the next level. I am Abraham Okusanya. Welcome to the show.
Morning. Welcome to Miami. Bit cold for Miami, isn't it? 8 degrees outside. I want my money back. It's not good enough. But apparently Miami, the financial planning community of Miami, it's really interesting. It's 50% of the adult population in Miami who do cash flow planning. They do invest in index funds. They do all that sensible stuff that we all know about. And the other 50%, they count their wealth through followers on Instagram. But we won't have any of that nonsense today because we've got, as we said, three of the legends of the industry here with us today. So, we're going to talk about the trends of the advisor market in 2026, and we couldn't do that without talking about our two favourite vowels. So AI is clearly a very hot topic in the industry, and there's varying opinions on the best way to do this. Philippa, when we met before this, you said there was a risk of, I think you said mass hysteria about the AI adoption. How do advisors use AI safely and we can be confident that we will get good client outcomes at the end of it?
Ooh, okay.
Start with an easy one.
Start with an easy one, yeah. All right, so I wouldn't call myself an AI skeptic, but I am not drinking the AI Kool-Aid. When you look at all the vibe reporting that there has been over the last few years when ChatGPT came in and everyone was saying, oh, within 6 months it's going to take all our jobs and all the rest of it, it just has, it's, in one way, we might say AI has been a massive disappointment to us. All I can say is the way that we're using it at Paradigm Norton is to look at where it can augment. Where are the bottlenecks in what we're doing? How can it actually help us do things better? So we are not AI driven. We are deliberately followers, not leaders in tech. That is the strategic decision that we have made.
Yeah.
And it is interesting. We are curious. We are playing with it, but it is certainly not leading our business.
Yeah, interesting. Thank you, Philippa. Joe, you taken a slightly different approach at Ativo.
It's like you planned this, Ed.
I know, isn't it?
So we've done the complete opposite. And I think one thing is that there is lots and lots and lots of ways to implement new technologies. And we started from the business problems that we wanted to solve. So one is the cost of compliance checking, which everybody loves dearly. And the second was how do we actually harness and bank our data as right in order then to do stuff with it. So we adopted very consciously a back-to-front strategy. So despite lots of enthusiasm from all of our stakeholders, we didn't go with a planner efficiency-based AI tool. Mainly that is because I have nightmares about generative AI, things that it creates based on data or recordings. They're not banked, they're not checked, they're not contextualized, might have a word in it, how do we know if it's the right word? So 2 years ago, we did a very deliberate strategy to do back to front. To start with the recordings, to bank them, we trained our own LLMs around the Ativo financial planning advice policy.
Okay.
And we've been going on since then. And by end of this year, we will have compliance checked the meetings when they happen, and then we'll able to automate on top of that without that sort of human verification tax, without having to check everything.
Amazing. So you're kind of linking it back to adherence to COB rules and all that good stuff in terms of compliance.
Yeah. And it's all compliance checked at the time, so all the TNC, all the observations, everything is automated through the tool.
Yeah, and how did you decide which model to use? Well, you've taken a very different approach. Why did you use the model that you did?
So we use it because I'm terrified of generative AI, and seeing things like you have something that is like a ChatGPT or a Claude, you ask it something, it's 100% confident, that's the answer. Well, it's not. You've got to fact check it. Whereas if you start from training a large language model around what your data set is, and then you can integrate it into a large comprehension model so it gives the context over the data and it banks it as correct, then you remove the need for a human to have to check something that a machine created because it's actually something you trained the machine to produce.
Interesting. Interesting. Alan, what's your take on this? Hysteria versus, practical implementation.
Okay, I think we need to kind of step back from the kind of granularity about AI specifics and AI tools. And I've got this analogy that I've shared with other people. People in the room over a certain age might remember a time before Netflix. Because before Netflix, if you wanted to watch a film, you had to sort of go down the high street and go to a shop called Blockbuster. And you would pitch up there, look for the video you wanted to watch or the DVD, queue up, rent it, take it home, then forget to take it back and get fined late payment, late return fees, etc. And my view on AI at the moment, it's like the way it's been applied, I'm seeing across the market, it's like Blockbuster got an app. So it's still pretty inefficient, but it's slightly better. And then Netflix came along, which was an entirely different, always-on, algorithm-driven model that I can watch a film anytime I want, and it understands my viewing habits and what I like to watch, and it helps and encourages me. So where we are with AI in financial planning right now is there is a lot of what the tech people call point solutions. So they fix one particular thing. So the classic was meeting note-taking. And that was a quick win for all of us. And when that first came out, of course, it was revolutionary. It was wonderful. You don't have to have people writing down notes or typing up notes. And it was a great advancement. But what happened was it pushes the work down to the next part of the process, and then you've got your next bottleneck. And then you are, whether it's report writing and suitability letters, etc. So all of a sudden, you've got support people and power planners. They've been inundated with meeting notes and having to write them up. Where we're trying to get to now is effectively to re-architect the entire business, the entire process, and start from a first principles approach, which is why are we even doing this thing in the first place, is a question. So suitability reports, you're doing them faster, more efficiently, more reliably, et cetera, Why are we even doing a suitability report? There is nothing in the legislation which says you have to. You've got to convey the reasons for your advice, the risks, and all that sort of stuff. So there is an opportunity to, you're going to begin to hear this phrase AI native much more in the future, which is effectively, if you were starting a financial planning business from scratch today, you wouldn't do half the things that we currently do. So the idea, the Blockbuster analogy was do the same things, but do them slightly faster or slightly more efficiently. Well, hang on, let's go back to basics and let's not do them at all if we don't have to. So, and I'll finish off just a brief example of what that could look like. So rather than suitability reports, why doesn't every client have their own portal, their own digital, always on, like Netflix, real-time data, portfolio information, planning information, questions can be answered, etc., always on 24/7, because just because you've got your annual planning meeting, today or next week, they might have a question in a month. So the ability just to engage. So everything is based on data. As long as you've got high quality data, these AI native models, and they are being built. I'm seeing this being created from the ground up, which is moving away from, as I say, a bunch of point solutions like note taking, suitability report, to an always on integrated AI architecture. So I think that's the challenge for people, is to begin to ask questions about systems and processes and how you could redesign, restructure, and re-engineer your entire business. And that also has big impacts on people's roles, what people actually do in the company, because some roles won't be as necessary in a year or two.
Yeah. So this is about efficiency. It's about bringing down the cost to serve so you can serve more clients, do them faster, create advice capacity. Is that one of the drivers here? Or is it just not purely, but it's that compliance checking process that you do, Joe? How do you guys see this from a growth perspective to move faster, go quicker, do more things?
So I would agree it's about doing it differently. I also think that financial planning is at an inflection, given in the UK where we are with the investors hovering around with the desire to grow inorganically as well as organically. And I do think that it is beholden on us as CEOs, whatever our strategy is and whoever our client bank is, that you have to be able to prove to those people that are going to lend you money that you are going to be here in the next 2, 3, 4 years.
Yep.
So I think it's not just about capacity or efficiency or tinkering. This is, transforming the businesses from the way that they were into the way that we need to be in order to be here in 2, 3, 4 years' time. I think it's that stark. That's the inflection point.
Yeah.
I do have a problem with such short time scales. Like the amount of vibe reporting around, it's going to be sentient, it's going to know what it's doing, it's going to solve problems, it's going to know what you're thinking before you're thinking about it, and the sort of short time level of 2, 3 years. I just look back at 2, 3 years ago and what AI was doing, and it just hasn't delivered what people were being hysterical about 2 or 3 years ago. So I completely agree that our job as a long-term sustainable success of our businesses is that, do I feel that AI is at the center of that? No, I don't. I think people are at the center of that. And that's I think AI is, I don't disagree. We're looking at client portals. I wouldn't put that in the AI bucket myself. I would just look at that as a, how do we serve the client better bucket as opposed to an AI bucket? And that may well be my perspective around it. But I just get really kind of slightly irritated about predictions in such short time periods when we just don't know where it's going to go. We don't know what it's going to be able to do. And I do get the Blockbuster analogy and the Kodak analogy and all the rest of it. But we are so incapable of being able to predict the future. The only thing we can look back on, or we can focus our attention on, is how do we do this as well as we possibly can with the people that we've got, serving our clients as well as we possibly can, without trying to predict exactly what it's going to do, because we can't.
Yeah.
And so I can waste my time trying to predict what the markets are going to do or what AI is going to do, but I can't.
So it's.
I think that there's a simple metric is to identify what percentage of an advisor's time is spent with clients, actually in meetings, in person, on Teams calls or Zoom calls, because the kind of anecdotal data is pretty low. It's 20%.
Yeah.
So one thing's for sure. This is going to change. It might not be in 2 years, but undoubtedly, the progress, it is much more of an exponential. It's technology that's never been experienced before. So it is faster than historical linear progress, which we've had with tech in the past. But you can't break the laws of physics. There's only so many hours in the day. But this, back to your point, Ed, about capacity, there's no question that advisors and support people are currently doing work which will be able to be done faster, more efficiently, more reliable, repetitive, data-driven work, which frees up time. We've experienced it in our firm already. It does free up time. The question is, what do you do with that time? And the ideal thing is you would allow. Everyone's got different approaches. How many clients or client families can one advisor comfortably look after whilst delivering? And this is the thing. It depends on the quality of your service and how long it takes. If you're doing proper, really comprehensive financial planning with a degree of complexity and depending on your client base, it does take time. So there is a point at which, I do think you could move from, I've always thought that about 75 clients was about right, to not drive yourself crazy and deliver a high service.
Families or individuals?
Families. So, you generally speaking with a couple,
Yep.
talking about the family dynamics. And I think that number will go up, because to support those 75 families, or 90 or 100 or whatever it is, there's a lot of preparation, there's a lot of follow-ups, there's all the other sort of stuff that goes on. There's no question that the machines be able to do a lot of that work pretty accurately or completely accurately. So where do you get to? Ultimately, do you get to a good advisor will look after 150 families? It won't be 1,000, right? There literally isn't enough time in the day. So that's where you're going. And then that leads you back to, I think we're probably going to talk about it, about growth, and then how that's going to be achieved. Build the capacity first, maybe, and then look to drive growth.
It's interesting. We were at a conference in the States last year, and I remember one of the speakers who was talking about business growth. So this links nicely to our next topic. the business growth is directly related to the amount of effort that you put into it. Funny that. So if you create capacity, and there's certainly meant to time serving with clients or doing administration or doing CPD stuff, what do you do with that other time? And that is it about lead generation? Is it about winning new clients? How do you guys think about that?
It's so funny, isn't it? 'Cause I've never met anyone where I've said to them, "How you doing?" and they haven't said, "Oh, really busy." Really busy. So it's work expands to fill the time that you give it. So I don't think it's about. I think it is about capacity, and I think it is about all of those things. And we are moving all our documents onto SharePoint so that we can throw AI over it, so it can help with the preparation, etc., etc. So we're not sort of antediluvian, but I think it's it's a journey, isn't it? It's a real journey of people not saying that they have capacity, because they're never going to tell you they've got capacity. That's just a part of the human condition, frankly.
It's funny, we're doing some training with the sales team at the moment here at Timeline, and that was one of the things we were chatting about. How do we create time? And the chap we've been using, he said, it's really simple. You just need to prioritise. What's more important? This thing that you're trying to do over here, Timeline is to do this, yours will be to do that. It's about prioritisation, he was arguing. So, yeah, nobody sat around twiddling their thumbs. It's just prioritising the right stuff. So, really interesting. Okay, cool. That links nextly to our next topic, which is about growth, business growth. So, in January, we did a series of events around the country, our growth series, where Abraham was talking about the trend of advisor growth. And here's the uncomfortable position. That is, if you take away what the stock market's done, the majority of advisor firms, on average, are not growing. Why is that? And how do we flip that round?
Right. I'll give you a couple of data points which might support this. If you look across, I think there's in the order of 5,000 regulated firms, advisor firms in the UK, roughly. Of that, about half are sole trader.
Yep.
Right, which is the most incredible kind of barbell cottage industry at one end. Half the market is one man, one woman band, and the other half is the other end is huge companies. So if you've got half the market, and then the second stat is the classic average age of an advisor, which, choose your number, late 50s.
Yep.
So if you're in late 50s and half the market is you're a sole trader, chances are you've been in business for a while. You've probably been in business 20 years more. You built up a client bank, and you probably, back to this capacity management thing, I know a lot of really successful 1-2 person businesses who are turning over whatever it is, £500,000 a year, more, working 4 days a week. Brilliant. It's a beautiful lifestyle business. Those people do not have the ambition to go out and do Google ads and you name it and get relentless. They've got, it's back to what Morgan Housel was saying earlier on, they've got enough. And this is a thing that people overlook. Half the market's got enough. We're not, and you can't help yourself but get a few referrals every year. You show up and do your work.
Yeah, you will grow.
Half a dozen people will say, "Oh, you must speak to my mate. He's going to retire next year or something." So you do it. So I think that's something that needs to be considered, is the dynamics and the kind of structural setup of the marketplace right now, with average age, small businesses. That's probably one of the reasons. And then, of course, you've got the other side, and particularly the PE-backed firms. It's all about relentless growth, which is a different story. But it shifts. Depends who you're asking the questions of, Ed, through your surveys and the conversations you have. But half the market isn't particularly ambitious. That's the reality.
These are lifestyle businesses. Yeah. How do you approach growth?
Twofold. So I think that one, also love a data point. So 65 of all new clients for all financial planning firms come from referrals, 15% from digital, 5% from partnerships and others. So I think there's an element of, if you want to grow, and we're saying organic rather than inorganic, then it's really around, are you going to be scientific about it? Can you be methodical? If you understand that to land a prospect to a new client is approximately 4 times as much work as what it is getting a referral, because, they have to like you, you've got to have some chemistry, you've got to get on, they've got to trust you, they'll probably try before they buy. So I think there's an element of understanding the dynamics, also understanding the expectations. If you're going to do organic growth, that it might be a slower burn. We never really know how long it will take, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 months before someone lands. So, if you have a plan and you have the momentum and you carry it through, it will come, but it's hard. The second thing is you really need to understand your client book and your target market. So, we are, like a lot of firms, we have a lot of people who are at retirement, sort of households, a lot of intergenerational conversations going on. So there's always going to be an element of your clients' assets that are used to pay for their holidays and cruises and take income. So you have a mix in your book at any point in time of accumulation and decumulation. So I think you really need to know your inside leg measurements when you have a conversation about growth, because part of your growth is fulfilling your clients' goals, which may not be net flows, but it may be income growth. So you need to be, pick your data point, know the structure of the market, know the framework, know where you are competing, if that's what you're competing. But actually, there's such an advice gap. There's so much to go around.
There's such an opportunity.
Such an opportunity.
Yeah. Philippa?
So I took over as CEO only a year ago, and for those of you who know Paradigm Norton, you'll know that Barry had quite an acquisitional growth strategy. I've completely changed that. We are not acquiring. Don't come and talk to me. I am not buying. We have completely flipped into an organic growth strategy. And what I reflect over the last year of bringing in an organic growth strategy is that it's a skill. It's a skill, and people were de-skilled because when you have an acquisitional growth strategy, you have people who are simply given back a client book, and actually they're really skilled at building relationships. They're really skilled at understanding what's happened and where to go next, etc. What they're not skilled at is going out and actually having conversations and actually going face to face with someone and actually having a coffee. And so we've had to spend quite a lot of time with people, motivating them, talking to them, skilling them up to go out and actually have a coffee. So the average age of our advisors is 44. So we've got quite a few young advisors at Paradigm Norton. And it's amazing because they are so keen. We are incentivizing them, new client bonus, etc. We try and get pay right and out of sight, but we do incentivize for new clients. And that's the way that they can access a higher level of pay. But they have all the support around them to help them to go out into the world and literally go and have a coffee with someone. I have built an entire career on going and having coffee. It's how I first met Alan, had a coffee with him, and said, Alan, who else should I be talking to?
Yeah.
And he introduced me to other people. And it's a people business, it's a trust business, but it is a skill to go out and get new business, and people by people at the end of the day. And that is not going to change, albeit we are now starting to get referrals through ChatGPT.
Yeah. There we go. So referrals is a... Well, Alan, sorry?
If you're less of an AI skeptic, then you get a referral.
Is it a fake?
I'm just not hysterical about it.
No, I get it. It's a fascinating subject, and I do think like the recurring revenue model, and then because a lot of things with compliance has got clunky, and it's back to capacity management, and even a lot of advisors who've got full books of business, they don't, another client is actually, it's another slot in their calendar, which is already busy. So there's, and I guess then you talk about incentives, and again, some people have said, I'm fine, I've got enough, I've got 50 clients, 80 clients, whatever, I don't desperately need a lot more. But we've done a bit of work in my firm in recent times, because we do want to continue to grow in particular ways. Joe, you just said 65% of your new introductions, new clients are referrals. I can't see anyone in this room, but if I was to put a show of hands, it would be the same. All of us, the majority is coming from referrals. But then the next question I would ask advisor firms is, do you have a structured, systemized, repeatable, scalable process for referrals? And I promise you, 99% of people say no. They just happen.
Question, put your hand up. Have you got a repeatable process for referrals? That kind of, it's a bit dark out there, but that kind of confirms your point, Alan.
I think, yeah, exactly.
Well, that's the...
Well done.
I mean, what's also interesting is what I've learned over the last year is, as was Joe's point, is that taking on new clients takes on a whole lot more time,
Completely.
whether they're referrals or whether they're organic growth,
Yep.
outside of that. So that was one of my mistakes. I had not, I just hadn't realised that it takes. I think it takes more than 4 times. Actually, that's what's being reported. It takes 30 to 50 hours to take on a new client properly.
At least.
Yeah, exactly that. So that if you are going down an organic growth strategy, you really need to put that into your thoughts and your plans, because, as you say, if you've got somebody who's got 70 clients already and you're asking them to take on 5 new clients that year, actually, then you bump up, as I have, against people saying.
That's scary, isn't it? It's
I'm
like
really busy.
30 to 40 hours to bring on a new client.
And yet, but the lifetime value of a client is, a lot.
Yes, yeah.
So it's worth it.
It's that short-term pain. It's a long-term value for the client, isn't it? But it's that effort to bring the client on in the first place. Clearly, there's compliance, there's all that, kind of research that needs to be done there. But it's just, how do we shorten that? I guess, how do we make that faster? How do we make that easier?
Should you? Should you not be spending that time with the client, talking to them and working stuff? I mean, I think there is stuff that you can do.
Okay.
But there is
I guess I was
a
referring
time
to more
lag.
the administration side of it, as opposed to
Yeah.
the kind of in-person.
Yeah,
building
but
relationship.
the other thing about AI is that everything doesn't have to be faster. Everything doesn't have to be more efficient. Maybe we just do a really good job.
Yeah, just do a good job repeatedly. Brilliant. Okay, just conscious of time, because I've had some questions coming through, but there's one final topic I wanted to touch on, and we touched on it briefly. So we talked about AI being efficiency. We've talked about business growth. I think referrals is a key theme. That if it's not being done, hopefully that's a helpful takeaway to think about. It's about people. So average age, I've just learned that 40-something at Paradigm Norton.
44.
44 is below average. Joe, Ativo, yours is significantly below that.
38 and a half.
38. We're going down, Alan. Come on, follow the trend.
No, ours will be 40 something.
Okay.
We've only got 5 advisors, so it would be
Yeah.
probably about 44. I think
40.
we've got 28-year-olds in there. So
So collectively, you represent, significantly below the industry average, which is, as you said, 50 something.
Mm.
How do we attract more brilliant people to our industry? How do we do that?
I'm just not struggling to recruit. I'm not. I mean, our approach is that we pay market rate, and we do get pay right and out of sight. Our benefits are extraordinary. I have to say, I came in and I was like, we do what? We're employee owned. We're female led. It is a draw. So I'm currently not struggling to recruit. We recruited 7 new heads last year. I am more interested in giving people the opportunity to be absolutely excellent, and then that is basically our strategy: is that we are superb.
Yes. So is that performance management culture kind of?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, you get me on my. All right.
Talk
Okay.
about performance management.
So
The 9-box.
9-box grid. So number 1. One-to-ones, half an hour every week. If you don't have half an hour to give your direct reports, then you're doing it wrong. I absolutely am adamant about that. Half an hour every week, one-to-ones. Go and have a look at the manager tools. They have all the information that you need to go and do that. We have increased productivity. We have increased every point on our employee survey. People are going out and doing stuff that they were previously really scared about doing, but everyone is going out and winning new work. One-to-ones, absolutely far more effective than any AI, as far as I'm concerned. We have, every 6 months, we'll have a talent management review, and we have a 9-box grid. And it sounds awful, but it's brilliant, because there's nothing worse than working with people who are not doing a job properly, who are not performing, who are holding you back. Your biggest, your bottlenecks will dictate the speed your firm can go. So every 6 months, we talk about absolutely everybody in the firm. We put them in a 9-box grid: X, Y, access, performance, potential. If you are in the bottom left-hand corner, by the next time we're having a talent management conversation, I want you out of that box, either out of the firm or out of that box, because you're doing much better.
Yep.
So we are very, very performance managing driven, and we are a high-performance firm. We absolutely are. There is nowhere for anyone to hide. Some people love it, some people hate it. If you hate it, that's great. You will leave with our love, and we'll throw you a party, and good luck with everything. And if you love it, we will support you to the ends of the earth to be absolutely superb.
Thank you. Interesting. Culture, the people culture at Ativo. How does it compare? performance management?
Well, I think we all have the same ish tool sets. I think that people manage people. Everybody struggles with difficult conversations. You have to teach them, coach them, train them. It's not something that we all come out the bullpen naturally with. And I think that, high performing means high ambition, means not satisfied, people that don't feel that they have enough, and that's a balance for our business. We want to grow. We want people who want more clients, that are going to chase more clients, that are going to serve more clients. And I think that we do believe that the harder you work, the better the results. And we like to grow our own.
Yeah.
So particularly from a financial planning perspective, we ideally won't let you in front of a client until you've been sort of level 6 within the first 3 years, and then 18 to 24 months incubating in what we call a pod and associate director team, so that you can be technically gifted and talented, but actually people do buy people. We have a high net worth client base. They have very complex needs, latterly thanks to Rach and accounts. So from that perspective, actually, there is a huge amount of work that's been done for families and households and intergenerations, and the, oh my God, pension question and what you're going to do now. And that, that complex financial planning and the trust that it takes with a family, for a person coming into the industry to learn that, see that, touch it, feel that, and be able to be in those meetings and eventually run some of those meetings, that 18-month to 24-month glide path is we try not to recruit. One of our strategies is we want to recruit 95% of our internal vacancies internally for financial planners for that reason. And then if they learn our way and they get that support from not one exam to level 6 fellow pension specialist, and having had that apprenticeship 2 years, that's where we find we get our best outcomes.
Fabulous. Thank you, Joe. Alan?
Yeah, it's interesting. I've got a slightly unique insight to you talking about recruitment and talent and where's the next generation, etc., coming from. You may have heard of the award-winning podcast, Trap, the Real Advisor podcast, which we, some of you were there maybe there last night. We had a live event last night. 250 people in the room. I guess average age guessing was 30s. And as a result of us pushing out that podcast every couple of weeks for the last nearly 4 years, there's a profile and people contact us and people get in touch. And there's, barely a week goes past without like a DM on LinkedIn or a message or an email from bright, young, talented people, males and females, generally, in their 20s.
Yeah.
It was absolutely, I loved it last night and some of the other sort of community events we do, because you have like young people coming up and saying, loved it. I'd never really considered financial planning before, but my mate told me, listen to this podcast, and it made it human and it made it real. And like you, that there are plenty of people out there who are seeking it, but financial planning has a reputational issue because it sounds about finance and it sounds money and it sounds to the outsider slightly dull. But once people know and they understand it and they get it, it's a very, in the right sort of firms, it's a very human-led and human-centric experience. Yeah. With the potential, lifetime career, you can progress, and it is a profession, and there are qualifications, professional exams you can progress through, and you can be well paid, and you can work in a hybrid fashion. It's a fantastic job and career, but it suffers from externally some reputational issues. So, going forward for the next decade, I don't think any of us will have difficulty hiring people. There'll be plenty of them, more and more coming in. I think the next sort of battle is to create, like hopefully we've all done and others in this room, to create a very aspirational place for people to work, because people then get a bit, if you're a talented young person coming into the profession, you've probably got quite a few options. So creating things that people want in terms of culture, in terms of the way that they operate, whether you're office-based, hybrid, work from home, all the things that people really nowadays want and expect. But I think the future is very positive.
Yeah, brilliant. Fantastic. Thank you, guys. That was really good. We've got a load of questions. We've got 5 minutes left or so let's try and rattle through these. First one's for you, Philippa, actually. What did the skilling up look like for planners to flip the culture to organic growth?
Yep.
What were the lessons learned?
Okay, great question. So a lot of it is really individual. We all employ individuals, so a lot of that was done through. So we have what we call our PN Gem. We do 15 minutes every Thursday morning, and some of that is on, how do we even talk about what we do? Let's share some stories about what we do. We do a lot of coaching through our one-to-ones. They are absolutely central for us to skill up our staff. So we have had an external trainer come in and talk about how you go out. I buy books for people. I take people with me. We've sponsored events, so if I want people to go out and have coffees and they're a 28-year-old advisor, they don't know anyone. So we will go and we've been going to lots of lawyer events because I know some lawyers. We'll sit at a table and I'll sit with them, and then and then one-to-one I'll say, okay, what are you doing next? What's next? Or come with me and we'll both have a coffee. Or they'll say, look, I need to email this person to say, do you want to come and have a coffee with me? We'll talk it through.
Fabulous. Thank you. How many advisor hours a year should be spent on a client in average? And how much do we think technology will reduce that by?
Reduce it.
That's the question.
Technology will increase the amount of client time. I think isn't that the point? Advisors, at the moment, the kind of default option is an annual planning meeting of, let's say, 2 hours. You've got 2 hours a year to speak to a client, and meantime they're being bombarded with nonsense and news and media and hype, etc. So no, I'm anticipating that FaceTime communications, conversations, phone calls and meetings will double or treble going forward, because again we're back to the point about what percentage of advisor time now is client facing, and I'm going to say not more than 20% on average. So you can get that to 40% or 60%. So that's because you should be reducing or eliminating a lot of the repetitive work in terms of prepping for meetings and follow-ups.
But I think it's going to change, though. I think the sorts of time you're spending with clients is going to change. So I know we've had clients who pay us a lot of money, and we've felt obliged to have lots of meetings with them. And some of them have said, I don't want to sit down with you again. I don't need 4 meetings a year. But actually what we are doing is having a lot more client events, having a lot more opportunities for clients to meet each other, to form communities, to have interesting conversations. So I think that there is more desire for that, because actually I'm not sure that clients do want to spend more time with us.
I completely agree, and I've written about this in the past as well, is that what humans have always wanted and will always want is engagement and community and to meet with other people. I think the future in terms of client-facing time, no, it's not. You don't have to meet especially the wealthier ones. They've got complex lives. They're too busy to see you. But what they are interested in our experience, is getting together with other like-minded people and sort of them finding a new connection. So I think this is a whole other conversation for another time, but the shape of advisory businesses going forward, and events and sort of private dinners and all that sort of stuff will be more, and that's client time, but it's not just reviewing your portfolio. And frankly, a lot of that stuff will just be, you won't need to do this review the portfolio. It's just, it will be always available, always on, real-time data.
Yeah.
So then what we're meeting for, we'll just talk about everything else.
Yeah. Building that trust, building that relationship. Fabulous. Ladies and gentlemen, we are out of time. So it is my pleasure to thank you all. Philippa, Joe, Alan, I hope that was useful. I think my takeaway is performance management was a particular question which came up there quite a lot. So there's a lot of interest in that, and maybe measuring that in terms of referrals is some good practical ideas for us all to take away. So thank you all. Thank you for coming. Hope you have an amazing rest of today. Thank you.